Hey guys, hope you all have been well. Welcome back to my channel. On today's video, we're gonna do a year roundup of all the beauty purchases that I made in 2022, and I'm gonna be ranking them based on my experience and how I've been liking them over the past year. So the ranking system will be based on a 1 to 10 scale, 1 being bad and 10 being really, really good. So I'm gonna go down the list. I'm actually surprised. I think there's like 17 items that I purchased in a year. That's really low compared to some previous years, but let's do the rundown. Let's rank. Let's get to it. So the first item on this list is the Natasha Denona Mini Retro Palette. And I did use this in my previous video where I was practically bashing TikTokers. No, I wasn't bashing them. I was just saying be wary. But this is a fairly decent palette. It does have a very retro vibe. Here's the thing with this palette. It looks pleasing to the eye, but I don't think it's the best in terms of combining the colors like pink and green together. It's not a color combination that I would necessarily put together, but because the greens are a little bit more toned down, it's easier to work with. So generally, I like to do either a green or a pink. It's very hard for me to want to use them together. Like even in the previous video, I was like, I don't really like this. But looking at the palette, it is a very pretty combination. I just don't think it looks all that great on the eye. So I would rank this about a 7. I've made really good use of it. Every single shade in here has been used, some way more than others, but it's a functional palette. I do like to use them just separately, so green or pink. I totally forgot to gather all these items, so I'm looking at my list and trying to grab for them. Item number 2 is the Natasha Denona Glam Face Palette, and I did get this in light, I believe. Yes. So this is what the outer packaging looks like. I'm pretty sure many of you have seen it already. This was a pretty big deal when it came out. And here's what I'm gonna say. The color story for the eyeshadows, perfect. I have light, medium, and deep. So transition, crease color, outer corner color. The shimmers on these are perfection. It's like metallic, very glittery, very eye-catching. I like the highlighter, but it's not my favorite highlighter. And the blush is just so-so. It is a cream blush, but it is stiffer, so it does dry down matte, which is great for my skin type. But for me, the shade is just not my preference. So overall, the palette is really good, and it makes a lot of sense. I mean, you could bring this and a small bronzer on the side, and you'll be good to go for any trip, any occasion. All that said, all things considered, I would give this a solid 8. Here we have Huda Beauty's Mercury Retrograde palette. This didn't come out this year, but I did get my hands on it. It was on sale at Sephora, and this is the one Huda Beauty palette that I really, really want. And just look at these ethereal but basic but pastel types of colors. And I don't often have these types of shades in my collection. I'm not a person to use color, but this color story was definitely safer for me in terms of getting into colors. And you know what? I actually really like it. I don't love every single shade in here. I think some are definitely better than others. Some of these glitters, like this one down here, it's like a funky consistency. But as a whole, I've definitely made a lot of use from this palette. I will say I'm still not quite confident with a lot of the colorful shades in here, but I've made a lot of use of the basic ones. But I would give this another 7, maybe 7.5, because I do like it a little bit more than the mini Natasha Denona Retro palette. But I don't think I like it as much as the Glam Face palette. So 7.5 is where we're gonna leave this one. I'm so sorry guys, I'm sweating up a storm. Oh my gosh, I can actually put my hair up because I have my clip. Next up, we have the Viseart Étendue Paris palette. I'm not going to show this to you because if you've seen a few videos back, I have decluttered my, well, not entirely, but I've decluttered a few eyeshadows from all of my Viseart palettes. I've condensed it to only ones that I really wanted to keep. But I know that this is the one that I purchased alongside Mercury Retrograde, which was on sale as well on Sephora. And here's what I have to say on this palette. I really don't think I should have bought it. I didn't really really make a whole lot of use of it. It was a bunch of shades I already had in terms of basic colors, and then the few pops of colors that it did have, I haven't used quite that often. So it should have been a pass. If I'm remembering correctly, it was a time when I was really getting into Viseart. So man, I'm probably going to say a 3. I'm pretty sure I ended up saving a few of the shades, but not a whole lot of it, and I haven't used it since then. Okay, so the next one on my list, I'm looking at my list down here on my phone. It is a Chanel product. This is a Chanel blush. This is in the shade Jersey, and I keep it in the pouch. So this is what the packaging looks like. It looks really pretty, but it's plastic and it's cheap and it's really expensive. But here is the blush shade. This is the kind of color I would have wanted in that glam palette. This has a slight sheen to it. The glitter particles are very, very fine on here. You couldn't tell if you had it on your face unless you were this close to their cheeks, but it's just a beautiful color. I love shades like this. This has to be my sweet spot for blushes, and it's a color that I will continuously buy over and over, even though I know I already have 67. I'm going to rate this about an 8, and here's why. I don't use it as much as I should, and it's not because I don't want to use an expensive blush. I'm kind of over that mentality of trying to preserve makeup because of the price tag. I forget about it, and it's partly because I store it towards the back of my blush collection, and 2, I have a lot of blushes, so I can't rank it as high because I'm not using it that often. I use my Natasha Denona Glam face palette more than I use this baby, but I would much rather keep this than that. So they're gonna balance each other out, and I'm gonna rate this an 8. I love this blush. Whenever I use it, I feel so pretty. I feel so put together, but I just don't use it that much. I need to put this in the front. This was a loan purchase on the Sydney Grace website, which is probably why I forgot to include it in here. This is her Be Mine palette, and it came out around Valentine's of this year. It was my first and only experience with Sydney Grace eyeshadows, but I've been wanting to try this formulation for a while. This is a luxury quality with a lower price tag, and I'm not going to say much lower price tag because it's still fairly expensive, but it is indie, and so they buy less in bulk, which makes it more expensive for them. So I get why they make the prices the way they are, but just for you guys to know, it is still around like the mid to high end range in terms of pricing. This is a palette that really took into consideration people with medium to deeper complexions. These two are the only 2 light shades in this palette. I mean, maybe you might consider that one as well, but everything else will show up on medium to deeper complexions. I love that it has this grungy feel to it, even though it was a Valentine's Day release. It was something different to all the other things that were coming around, and I still really love this palette. This is a solid release, solid quality. I have no regrets. So I'm going to give this palette a 9 because it's not like perfect. There are some things I would switch out. Yeah, let's just do 9. A solid 9. That is not bad at all. I feel like I'm doing so many eye stuff. We have a foundation. This is the Pat McGrath Labs Skin Fetish Sublime Perfection Foundation, and I have mine in the shade Light Medium 13. I should have known that because I have it memorized at this point. I have changed my preferences in base makeup. I started off with loving full coverage, then, high medium, then medium, and now I like sheer medium coverage. I just really like that look. I love the feel of it having really light makeup on, and this is everything. I love the way it wears. I love the way that it feels. I just don't like the price tag. It's very expensive. That's why you should always wait to buy this on sale. The only thing I would say is that I wish it had a better staying power. I have really sweaty skin and I have really oily skin, so mine is the toughest of the tough to appease when it comes to foundations. I need something strong, and this is not quite there yet, but for everything else, I absolutely adore this foundation. So I'm gonna give this another 9. I really like you. I just wish that you had better staying power. So solid 9 from me. Keeping up with the Pat McGrath theme here, I did pick up 2 other Divine Rose blushes, or Divine Blushes is what they're called, and I picked up the first shade in Divine Rose. I love these blushes. I wear them very often. Some are more favorite than others purely based on color, but this was definitely on the second tier of blushes that I wanted from the collection. It's pretty. I'm definitely going to use it, but how frequently was the question, so I did put it off for a little bit until I got a sale price tag on it. Blushes like these with a little bit of pink, a little bit of purple works very well on my complexion, so I know it's gonna work for me. I just don't get that pull very frequently to use it, so I'm gonna give this a 7, not because it's bad, it's just not a color that I gravitate to frequently. So 7 for this one, but I also picked up Flirtatious. It's a nude with a slight pinkish tinge to it. You know what? Does this look like Jersey? Let's just look. I told you I have an obsession with these types of shades. They're so good. So this one I'm gonna give an 8. I don't use it as often, same reason. I do have a lot of blushes, but it is my one weakness that I'm not willing to compromise with. If I want it, I'm gonna buy it. I do have 2 lip liners as well. This is the Permagel Ultra Lip Pencil. I have the shade Structure and Contour. I did do a haul with this, I believe. So this first one is Structure, which is what I have on my lips right now. This one here in Contour. These suckers last forever. I get the name like Permagel, same thing with the Pro Longwear. They have the same finish. They dry down and they do not move, which is great if you don't make a whole lot of mistakes. This one has a little bit more color to it, so I use things like Kinda Sexy with it. What was the other one? Velvet Teddy I like to use it with. And with this one, I oftentimes pair it with Yash from MAC or my NYX matte lipstick in Butter. But I'm gonna give them the same score, and I'm gonna say that this is about an 8.5. I really love the shades that I picked up. I've definitely been making a lot of use with them, and I got these half off. This one I used today because I knew it was going to be in this video, and I completely forgot how I felt about it. So this is the Pat McGrath Intensifies, what is it called? Artistry Wand. It is a clicky mechanism. It has a triangular shape to it. It looks like lip balm or lip primer, and you use this to apply in your eyes, then put glitter or loose pigment, things that tend to flake off on your eyes. And the pro of it is that it's not messy. I used to use the NYX glitter glue, and although it's effective and definitely cheaper, it does require me to put it on my finger and then apply it on. This one is just swipe, use, close it, and put it away. So in that sense, it's more user-friendly. However, I just don't really use products like these. So let's give this, I have to rank this higher than the Paris one because it is nice to have. So I'm gonna say this is a 4, maybe a 4.5. It is the holiday season and I'm gonna wanna use a lot more sparkles. I mean, look at my eye look today. I did use it. But I don't know, I'm just not one of those people that remember, hey, let me put this sticky primer on so I can put some glitter on my eyes. Okay, we've talked about this before. The Pat McGrath Quad in Voyeuristic Vixen. This was their Venus in Fleurs collection. I think I speak for many people within the beauty community that this is by far the best quad that Pat McGrath has ever come out with. I've yet to see someone speak negatively about the quality of this quad. The only thing that I would change in here is to trade this color out for a lighter matte color, but honestly, that's just me. This still makes sense in the palette, in my opinion, because of inner corner for highlighting, but for my preference, I would much rather have a medium-ish transition shade. I'm gonna give this quad an 8.5. It really is just spectacular, but I can't give it that 9 because Sydney Grace gives me more versatility. Okay, we have the Pat McGrath Lab Celestial Nirvana palette. This was the holiday palette for this year. I've picked up the past 3 years, and we finally get a lot of color, which is a first for her holiday palettes. This is a lot more brighter, more variations, so you can do different types of looks. There's also a lot more mattes than we're used to with her holiday palettes, but I still don't think this beats the one from 2020. That's still my favorite one to date. I think it's color preference for me. It's got a lot of more safer colors, even though this is a lot of fun and I've not been disappointed with any of the looks that I come up with. I just know that I compare all the 3 palettes, and the first one that I purchased in 2020 was the best one. I'm gonna give this an 8. That seems very fair. It's a very good palette. I just don't love it. I like it, don't love it. All right, we're moving on to Guerlain. This is the Meteorites number 3 in medium. This is sort of like a finishing powder, and I don't have any other one except for the Hourglass. That was last year's. Okay, that was last year's product. I almost felt like I didn't include those as well, but the Hourglass face palette that I picked up last holiday season. So this is what it looks like. Oh, it's got some nude colors, yellow, pink, purple in here. It gives that nice soft sheeny finish. This is gorgeous on the skin. I think I prefer it to the one in the Hourglass palette. The only thing I don't like about this is the smell. It's very potent with that luxury older lady smell. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah. It reminds me of Anna Sui. Anna Sui, I think that's how you pronounce it. It smells like rich powder, but it is beautiful on the face. I don't use it as often as I probably should. You know why? Because I keep it with my smaller eyeshadow palettes and then I forget that I have it. So I'm gonna give this a 7. It does what it needs to do. I do prefer it than my other option, but I oftentimes forget about it, so I can't rank it too high if I'm not using it to its fullest potential. So 7. Girlite. I was gonna say Girl Lights. I was merging Guerlain and Meteorites. Guerlain Meteorites 03 in medium, giving it a 7. Here we have ABH Luminous Foundation. I have it in the shade 270C. I use this so much, but not because I like it, but because I want to finish it. I don't like this foundation. I really don't. I'm looking forward to getting my MAC Studio Fix Fluid and replacing this thing, but it almost feels like not fair to give it a very low score because of how much I've used it. I'm gonna give it a 4 because it's served its purpose. I really just wanted this for a camera foundation, a little bit more fuller coverage. So it's done what it needs to do. I just really don't like it. It doesn't stay on my skin. It starts breaking up after like 2 hours. I really feel this sucker on my face. I can't forget that you've done your job. 4, maybe a 4.25. And those are my purchases for 2022. I'm quite proud of myself. I thought I spent a lot of money this year. And granted, a lot of these were mid to luxury makeup items. Still, got quite a few of them on sale. I hope you enjoyed this video. What I will do is, if any of these items are still available, I think 95% of them are, I'm going to be listing them for you in the description box down below. I will also leave a link for you to click on just so that it's easier to find the products if you're interested in checking them out or purchasing them. Just remember, they are magic links, so I do make a small commission every time you decide to make a purchase. Till the next video, I hope you all are doing well, taking great care of yourselves. I will see you all next time. Bye guys. Chicken.